The bass from the speakers thumped through the walls, but all I could hear was her laugh. I had seen Olivia at Daniel's gatherings before, yet tonight she seemed different. Daniel's voice called from across the room. "You good?" I'm fine," I said, though my eyes followed Olivia weaving through the guests with 2 glasses in hand. She stopped in front of me. "You look like you're stuck in your own head." "Maybe I am," I replied, taking the glass she offered. "What's in this?" "Something that'll make you loosen up," she said. "Don't worry, I didn't poison it." I smirked. "Good to know." She tilted her head. "You never talk much at these things." "What is that?" "I guess I'm more of an observer." "That sounds lonely," she said, stepping closer so I could hear her over the music. "Or maybe you just think too much. Could be both." Her smile lingered. "Come on, I'll show you the view from the balcony. It's better than standing here pretending you enjoy small talk." I followed her through the crowd. The night air outside was cooler, a quiet contrast to the noise inside. She leaned against the railing. "See, you can breathe out here." "I'll admit it's better," I said. She glanced at me. "Daniel tells me you're the quieter brother." "Sounds about right," I replied. "What else has he told you?" "That you're reliable, that you don't get into trouble." She let the words hang before adding, "I'm not sure I believe him." "Why not?" "You have that look," she said. "What look?" "The look of someone who hides more than he shows." I laughed lightly. "What do you think I'm?" "Hiding." She took a sip from her glass, eyes not leaving mine. "That's what I'm trying to figure out." "You'll have to guess," I said. She stepped closer. Guessing is half the fun. A shout from inside pulled our attention for a moment, but no one came out. She rested her elbows on the railing. "You know, Daniel's lucky. He has someone who actually listens to him." "You two are close," I said. "We used to be closer," she replied. "Lately, he's been distracted." I didn't ask with what. She turned her head toward me. "Do you always keep your distance? Or is it just with me? Maybe I don't want to cross any lines." Her eyes searched mine. "Lines make life." "Boring or safe," I countered. "Safe isn't as memorable." She let her fingers tap the railing near mine. "I think you'd rather remember." I could feel the space between us shrinking without either of us moving much. She asked quietly, "What are you thinking right now? That I should probably go back inside?" "Psst, but you haven't moved," she said with a knowing smile. I exhaled. "Slowly. Maybe I don't want to." Her lips curved just slightly. "Then stay." The music inside seemed farther away now. She lowered her voice. "Has Daniel ever told you how we met?" "No. It was at a university party," he thought. I was too bold. He wasn't wrong. "Bold suits you," I said before I could stop myself. Her eyebrow lifted. "Does it now?" "It does." She shifted so her arm brushed mine. "I was wondering if you'd say something like that." "You were?" "Yes." "You've been glancing at me all night." I looked away briefly, then back at her. "You're imagining things." "Am I?" she asked, tilting her head again. The warmth in her tone made my chest tighten. "Why are you telling me all this?" I asked. "Because you listen," she said. "And because I like the way you look at me when. You think no one's watching?" I swallowed hard. "Olivia," she leaned in slightly. "Say it again?" I shook my head. "You're making this dangerous." "Danger can be exciting," she whispered. Her perfume caught on the breeze, and I noticed how close her hand was. To mine, I brushed it lightly and she didn't move away. Her gaze flicked down to my lips. "You're not as safe as Daniel says you are." "I never said I was," I replied. She stepped even closer, her voice dropping. "If I told you I wanted to know what you taste like, what would you do?" I froze for a moment. "I'd tell you that's not a good idea." "But you wouldn't walk away," she said. My heartbeat felt too loud. "No, I wouldn't." "What are—" Eyes locked on mine, unblinking. "Then maybe you should stop thinking." I didn't answer. The space between us was small enough that I could feel her breath on my skin. She whispered, "Are you going to do something about this? Or should I?" I shifted slightly forward without deciding to. "We can't." "You keep saying that," she murmured, "yet here we are." Her lips parted and my chest felt tight. Olivia, I said again. Though my voice was softer, her hand brushed against mine once more, slower this time. Tell me you don't want to and I'll step back. I couldn't say it. She smiled faintly. That's what I thought. I leaned in. My pulse was a drumbeat in my ears. The air between us seemed to pull tighter. Then I heard it, a familiar voice cutting through the quiet. What's going on out here? Jerked back, my hand slipping from hers. Daniel stood in the doorway, looking between us. Olivia's smile didn't fade. We were just enjoying the view, she said smoothly. Daniel's gaze lingered on me for a second. Too long, right? The music inside swelled again as he stepped back in. Olivia took a slow sip of her drink, eyes still on mine. Looks like the night just got interesting, Daniel's voice cut through the night air. What's going on out here? I stepped back fast, my chest tight. Nothing, I said. You were just Olivia didn't miss a beat. Enjoying. The view, she said, her tone smooth but almost playful. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Right, enjoying the view.
Right.
Forced a half smile. I can see fine from here, he replied, looking between us. The food's running out inside. You two want anything? I'm fine, I said quickly. Same, Olivia added. Daniel's gaze lingered for a moment before he turned away. The door clicked shut. Olivia took a sip of her drink. Relax. You look like you've been caught stealing. Maybe because it feels like I have. You're overreacting, she said. We were talking. You know it wasn't just talking, I muttered. Her eyes sparkled. I know, that's why it was fun. Inside, the music picked up again, muffled through the glass. I shook my head. You like pushing this, don't you? Pushing what? She asked, feigning innocence. This, I said. Whatever you're doing, she leaned against the railing. Maybe I like seeing how far you'll go. That's not a good reason. It's a perfect reason, she said softly. Door opened again, and Daniel stepped out. Why are you still out here? Fresh air, I replied. Olivia, Daniel said, I've been looking for you. Someone wants to say hi. She glanced at me before walking past him inside. Try not to miss me too much, she murmured. As she passed, Daniel stayed behind, watching her go. Then he looked at me. You two seem to be getting along. She's your friend, I said. I'm being polite. Polite? He repeated slowly. All right. He went in without another word. The rest of the evening felt like a performance. Daniel kept close to Olivia, but every so often his eyes found me across the room. At one point, I stood by the drinks table when Olivia appeared beside me. You look tense, she whispered. Because you keep doing this, I said under my breath. Doing what? You know exactly what. Oh, she smiled faintly. Maybe I do. Maybe I like it. Daniel called her name from across the room. She winked at me and walked toward him. Later, I found myself in the kitchen, away from the crowd. Olivia slipped in, closing the door behind her. You're hiding, she said. Maybe I am. Me? She asked. From both of you? She stepped closer. You don't need to hide. I do, I said. For his sake. Her fingers brushed my arm lightly. You keep saying that, but you never walk away when you can. That's because you don't make it easy. I'm not supposed to make it easy, she said with a smirk. The kitchen door opened suddenly. Daniel walked in, eyes moving from me to her. What are you two doing in here? Getting water, Olivia said, holding up a glass. Daniel's expression didn't change. We should head back in, sure, I said. As he walked out, Olivia glanced at me over her shoulder. Her eyes held that same dare I'd seen on the balcony. For the next hour, every interaction felt loaded. When I passed Olivia in the hallway, her hand brushed mine. In the living room, she leaned in to tell me a joke, her breath warm against my ear. Daniel was across the room when that happened. I caught him watching us. You're staring, Olivia whispered. Because he's staring, I replied. She smiled like she enjoyed it. Could let him wonder. That's not the game I want to play, I said. But it's the one we're playing, she murmured. Daniel's voice cut through again. Olivia, come here. She walked to him without hesitation, leaving me standing there with my pulse. Pounding near the end of the night, guests began to leave. I stood by the door, nodding at people as they walked past. Olivia slipped her coat on beside me. Leaving? I asked. Not yet, she said. I'm waiting for Daniel to grab his keys. He's giving me a ride. I nodded. She leaned in close enough for only me to hear. Try not to think about me too much tonight. Why would I? Oh, because I'll be thinking about you. She said with a grin before stepping back. Daniel appeared, keys in hand. Ready? Always, she replied. They left together. I stayed behind, helping clean up. When Daniel returned later, he didn't speak much. You good? I asked. Fine, he said flatly. Just tired. I let it drop, but the weight of his tone stayed with me. Daniel leaned on the counter, scrolling through his phone. Do me a favor, drive Olivia home later? She's helping me sort some stuff first. Why me? I asked. Because I've got calls to make. You're free, right? I hesitated. Yeah, sure. Olivia looked up from the box she was unpacking. You don't mind? No, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Good, Daniel said. I'll owe you one. The hours dragged. Olivia and Daniel worked in the living room while I stayed mostly in the kitchen. Every so often I caught her glancing at me. Daniel finally said, That's enough for today. I grabbed my keys. I'll see you tomorrow, he told her. She smiled. If you're lucky. We stepped outside. The air was cool and smelled faintly of rain. I unlocked the car. She slid into the passenger seat without a word. The first few minutes were silent, except for the low hum of the radio. You always drive this quietly? She asked. Usually. That's boring, she said. I like. Boring? No, you don't, she said with a small smile. I kept my eyes on the road. What makes you think that? The way you look at me when you think I'm not paying attention. I tightened my grip on the wheel. You're imagining it, maybe, but I don't think so. The faint scent of her perfume filled the car, mixing with the warm air from the vents. She leaned back. So, how long have you been good at ignoring things you want? That's not a skill I've practiced. You could have fooled me, she said. I glanced at her. What are you trying to do? Keep you awake, she replied. You seem half asleep. I'm fine. She shifted, resting her hand on the center console. Close enough for her fingers to brush mine if either of us moved an inch. You. Always sit this still, she teased. Yes, it's a shame, she murmured. The road narrowed, forcing me to slow down. Her gaze stayed on me instead of looking out the window. You're going to make this harder than it needs to be, I said quietly. Harder for who? For both of us. I don't feel like I'm struggling, she said with a small laugh. That's because you're not the one who has to explain this to Daniel? She tilted her head. Explain what? Exactly, I muttered. Her fingers tapped lightly against the console. You ever think maybe you're loyal to the wrong person? That's not how this works, I said. Maybe it should be, she replied. We stopped at a light. She turned in her seat to face me fully. What are you afraid of? Not afraid? Yes, you are. You're afraid of what will happen if you stop pretending you don't want me. That's not true, I said, though my voice sounded weaker than I intended. She smiled faintly, then looked me in the eye. And tell me you haven't thought about it. I stared at the light, waiting for it to turn green. We're almost there. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting, I said. The rest of the drive was quieter, but the air felt heavier. When we pulled up in front of her place, she didn't move right away. You're not going to walk me to the door. You need me to? No, she said. But you want to. I stayed in my seat. Good night, Olivia. She didn't open the door. You really are stubborn. It's called self-control. Self-control is overrated. She studied my face for a moment, then leaned slightly toward me. One day, you're going to regret all these times you didn't move. Maybe. I said. Not maybe, she whispered. Her eyes locked on mine. I could feel the tension winding tighter in my chest. Then she smiled, slow and knowing. See you soon. She stepped out, closing the door behind her. I watched her walk up the path, her movements unhurried, almost deliberate. She didn't look back, but I knew she wanted me to watch. When she disappeared inside, I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Driving away, my hand stayed tight on the wheel. The scent of her perfume lingered, clinging to the seat, to my clothes, to my thoughts. Every mile I put between us felt both necessary and impossible. Daniel leaned against my kitchen counter, coffee in hand. Has Olivia said anything to you lately? No. Why? She's been distant, he said. Texts back slower. Cancels plans. Maybe she's busy. She always used to make time, he said. Now it feels like I'm chasing her. But stayed quiet. Daniel frowned. You think I'm imagining it? I'm saying you might be overthinking. He sighed. I know her. Why, something's off. I forced a shrug. Ask her directly. I tried, she said. Nothing's wrong. He took a sip of coffee. It doesn't feel like nothing. Later that week, I wandered into a small bookstore on my way home. Guess I'm not the only one hiding in here, a familiar voice said. I turned. Olivia, she smiled. You read occasionally? I said. You? Yeah. I live in places like this, she replied. Less noise, fewer lies. That's a dramatic way to put it. Accurate though, she said. We ended up sitting in the back corner, coffee cups between us. So, I said, Daniel thinks you've been distant. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Of course he does. Is he wrong? She stirred her coffee slowly. Do you want the polite answer or the honest one? Honest. He's exhausting lately, she said. Always needing to know where I am, what I'm doing. It's like he thinks he owns people. That's not unusual for him, I said quietly. Maybe not for you, she replied, but I don't belong to anyone. I leaned back. You should tell him that I have, she said. He doesn't hear it. The shop was quiet except for the low hum of an espresso machine. She glanced at me. You look like you want to say something. I don't, I lied. You do, she pressed. Say it. I think you're playing with fire. Her lips curved faintly. And you're standing close enough to get burned. I shook my head. You enjoy this too much. I enjoy honesty, she said. Something you keep avoiding. I'm not avoiding anything. You are, she said. You avoid admitting that you like being here with me. I didn't answer. She leaned forward, elbows on the table. Do you? Yes, I said finally. Good, she replied softly. Hours slipped by. We talked about books, music, and small pieces of ourselves we rarely gave away. As we stood to leave, she looked at me. You're different when he's not around. And maybe you are too, she smiled but didn't answer. That night, I sat on my couch, scrolling through my phone. A notification lit the screen. Olivia. I wish we'd met before you were his brother. I stared at it, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. I typed, then erased. Typed again, erased again. Finally, I set the phone down. Minutes later, I picked it. Back up and read the message again. I should have deleted it. I didn't. The cabin was smaller than I expected. Daniel grinned as he dropped his bag. Rustic charm, right? It's definitely something, I said. Olivia walked past us, setting her coat on a chair. It's perfect. Daniel shot me a look. See? She gets it. We spent most of the first day hiking. By the time dinner was over on the second night, Daniel yawned and rubbed his eyes. I'm wiped. You two can stay up if you want. He disappeared into the bedroom, door clicking shut. Olivia and I sat on the couch, the fire throwing flickers of orange light across the room. Quiet now, she said. Yeah. She shifted closer, her knee brushing mine. You're not going to run away, are you? Should I? That depends, she said softly. Wait. Do you want to? I looked at the fire instead of her. Not really, she smiled faintly. I didn't think so. A slow song played from the small speaker on the shelf. She tilted her head toward it. Dance with me. I hesitated. Here, why not? She stood, holding out her hand. Took it. Her fingers were warm as she placed my other hand on her waist. You're tense, she whispered. I have reason to be. Because he's in the next room. That's part of it. And the other part? I swallowed. You. No. Her hands rested on my shoulders, thumbs brushing the back of my neck. Say it? I can't. She moved a little closer. Then let me guess. Olivia, she said. It's my turn to talk. We swayed slowly to the music. The fire popped in the background. She kept her eyes on mine, unblinking. Afraid of what happens if you stop pretending, she said. I'm afraid of crossing a line we can't uncross. Her lips parted slightly. Too late. I shook my head. No, not yet. Her forehead nearly touched mine. You're lying. She smiled faintly. She smiled faintly and failing. The music faded into another song. But we didn't stop moving. Her breath was warm against my cheek. You feel it too, she murmured. I closed my eyes for a second. Yes. Her fingers tightened on my shoulders. Then why are you fighting it? 'Cause I have to. She tilted her head, her lips inches from mine. Do you? Yes. We leaned in until I could feel the faintest brush of her breath. My chest was tight, my pulse unsteady. At the last second, I stepped back. We can't. She studied me for a moment, then sat back on the couch. You already have. I sat beside her, unable to answer. The fire crackled. She looked away, but I could still see the ghost of that smile. Daniel leaned against the counter, arms folded. Something's different. I kept my voice even. Different how? You and Olivia. I met his eyes. You're imagining things. He shook his head. I've known you my whole life. I can tell when you're hiding something. Not hiding anything. She's been distant. You've been weird. You're reading into nothing. His gaze stayed locked on me. If I find out you're lying, we're done. There's nothing to find out. He stared for another second before walking out. My phone buzzed an hour later. Olivia, her voice was quiet. I told him it's over. I gripped the phone tighter. Already? Couldn't keep pretending. This is too fast. Too fast for who? You. For both of us. It's messy. It was always messy. I sat on the edge of the couch. He's going to hate me. This isn't about him. Should be. She paused. Do you want me to come over? That's not a good idea. So yes, I sighed. Olivia, I'll be there in 10 minutes. The line went dead. I left the lights low. The hum of the refrigerator was the only sound when she knocked. She stepped inside without a word. You shouldn't be here, said. She closed the door behind her. Then tell me to leave. We sat at the kitchen table. The dim light from the stove who'd cast her face in soft shadow. She reached for my hand. I didn't move away. Her fingers brushed mine, resting there. This isn't nothing, she said. I know. And why do you keep pretending it is? Because I'm trying to do the right thing. She leaned closer. And what's that? Hurting him? You think that's still possible? I hesitated. Maybe not. Her knee touched mine under the table. My pulse thudded. Look at me, she whispered. I did. Her lips were inches from mine. If you don't want this, say so. I didn't speak. She leaned in. The front door opened. We froze. Footsteps. Across the hall, Daniel stepped into the doorway. His eyes narrowing. His voice was low. What is this? Stood slowly. It's not what it looks like. Olivia's hand slipped from mine. Daniel's gaze moved between us, jaw tightening. You lied to me. Daniel, save it. Turned and walked out. The silence he left behind felt heavier than the room itself. Daniel didn't yell. He didn't even speak. Just stood there, eyes locked on me like he was trying to burn a hole straight through. Daniel, he turned and walked out. The door slamming hard enough to rattle the frame. Olivia exhaled. Fix it. You can't fix that. I'll talk to him. You won't listen. She leaned on the counter. Then what do you want me to do? I want this to not be happening. It already happened. I grabbed my phone, calling him. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same thing. Olivia stepped closer. Give him time. Time doesn't erase betrayal. She flinched. Is that what this is to you? I looked away. What else would you call it? Her voice sharpened. I'd call it choosing what we wanted for once, and destroying everything in the process. She crossed her arms. So you regret it? I didn't answer. That's all I need to know, she said. The next day, my phone stayed silent. By night, messages from friends started coming in. What happened between you and Daniel? Why is Olivia saying she's single? Did you too? I ignored them all. At the grocery store, 2 of our mutual friends avoided eye contact. Another gave me a look like I'd kicked his dog. I texted Daniel again. We need to talk. No reply. Olivia called that evening. He's telling people nothing happened, she said. That's good. It's not good. It means he's bottling it up. He'll explode later. Maybe he should. You want him to hate you? Hate. I think he already does. She was quiet for a second. Do you hate me? I rubbed my eyes. I don't know. She laughed once, bitter. That's nice. I'm trying to figure out if I'm just part of whatever game you're playing. Game you've always liked pushing limits. You think I don't feel anything for you? I think you feel something in the moment. Then you move on. That's not fair. It's honest. She sighed. Meet me. We need to talk face to face. I hesitated. Where? Your place. Tonight. When she showed up, she looked tired. Hair pulled back, sweatshirt instead of her usual careful style. She sat on the couch. I don't regret you. You should, do you? Yes. And? No. Her eyes searched mine. That's the problem. You're stuck in the middle. I'm stuck in the fallout. I told you I'd take the blame. That doesn't matter. The damage is mine too. She leaned forward. If I walked away now, would that make it easier? I swallowed hard. It might make it worse. She almost smiled. Then you're just as guilty as me. I stood. This isn't a joke. I'm not laughing. The silence stretched until she finally got up and headed for the door. Her hand was on the knob when she turned. Call me when you figure out what you actually want. The door clicked shut behind her, leaving the air heavier than when she'd arrived. Asterisk, it had been 3 weeks before Daniel finally answered my text. Meet me. One time. That's it. I was already sitting at the booth when he walked into the diner. His hands were in his jacket pockets, his eyes fixed on the floor until he reached me. Thanks for coming, I said. He slid into the seat across from me. Don't thank me. I'm only here because I want this finished. Finished. And me, the talking, the wondering, all of it. I sat back. And say what you need to say. He leaned forward. She's gone, Olivia. Moved on. My throat tightened. Moved on to who? Does it matter? Yes. He gave a humorless smile. Someone else entirely, not me, not you. I swallowed hard.
How long?
A week after that night, I let out a sharp breath. So all of this, and she's already found her next thrill, he finished. I clenched my jaw. I didn't come here to talk about her like she is exactly that. And you knew it, whether you want to admit it or not. The word stung. I didn't plan any of this, Daniel. You didn't stop it either. I stared at the table. I'm sorry. He shook his head. I'm not angry anymore. That's something, I guess. It's not. It just means I'm done. I looked at him, hoping for some crack in his expression. So what now? We live our separate lives. That's it. That's all there is. The waitress came by, but neither of us ordered. When she left, Daniel stood. You were my brother before you were her anything, he said quietly. But you made your choice. I never stopped being your brother. You stopped acting like one. He walked out, leaving me staring at the empty seat. 2 days later, I saw her. I had gone to a cafe near the river to clear my head. She was already there, sitting by the window, sunlight in her hair. She noticed me instantly and smiled like we were old friends who'd just bumped into each other. Hey, she said when I walked over. Hey, how have you been? I sat across from her. You know exactly how I've been? She sipped her coffee. Daniel told you? Yes. Her smile didn't fade. Good, I didn't want you finding out from someone else. He moved on. Fast. She set her cup down. I don't wait around when something's over. Was it ever not over for you? She tilted her head. Does it matter now? It matters to me. For what? Closure? Something like that? She leaned back in her chair. You're exciting. Different. But I don't stay in one place too long. I let out a short laugh. So I was just a moment of chaos for you. She grinned. You make it sound worse than it was. It's exactly what it was. You're not mad? I was. Not anymore. That's healthy. I'm not thanking you for it. She glanced toward the door. I should go. I didn't stop her. She stood adjusting her bag over her shoulder. We were fun, though. Don't pretend we weren't. I didn't answer. Her smile stayed in place as she walked past me and out onto the street. I stayed in my seat, watching her disappear into the crowd. The air in the cafe felt cooler without her. Maybe it was the open door. Maybe it was something else. She had been right about one thing. We were fun. For her, it was an intermission. For me, it was a storm. I finished my coffee, stood and stepped. Outside, the wind caught my jacket, carrying away the last trace of her perfume that had lingered in my memory. For the first time in weeks, I felt lighter.